Hello and welcome back to my Beginner's Guide to Scrolls Part 3. In the last two parts we've gone over the very basics of gameplay, and in Part 2 we went over how you should progress as a beginner, namely by playing the easy trials and using the gold you earn from completing all those, combined with the gold you get for free when you start the game, to make some additions to your growth pre-constructed deck. I made a list and I popped that in the description of the last video, and I said you should be able to get that for around 4,000 gold. It should take you a little while to get those, obviously, but once you have, this video is telling you what to do next. So first thing I'll do is start with a little example of trading, because we didn't show you that last time. And if you don't know how to do it, obviously it might be a little bit confusing, so I'll just give you a little example. Just nip in and buy something. So we're on the main screen here. We've opened up the pop-up menu at the bottom, and we've joined trading. So here we are, and let's see if there's something going for relatively cheap that we can just buy just to show you. There we go. We'll trade with this guy. So we're looking for Gibbon, and we're going to just buy one of his cheap cards. Just a bear paw will do. So we're looking for Gibbon. We click on his name, click trade, and wait for him to respond. You'll get a little notification up in this area, and click accept. Hopefully, there we go. This is Gibbon. So we'll say, "Hi, Gibbon. Bear paw, please." And he will look down his list of scrolls. This is his collection on the right. This is my collection on the left. He looks down, selects it. There it is. I know that he wanted 75 for that. He's asking if I want one or just more. So then we type in that box 75. Now I can, once the game registers what's going on, I can click accept. If he changed his scroll selection on there, that would black out, so I can't press accept, and vice versa. If I change the monetary amount, his side would blank out and untick, so nobody can get screwed. And that's that trade done. Quite simple, and the hard part is really finding somebody selling the cards you want. But if you take your time, you should get those bought quite quickly. Most of the cards I suggested you buy are easy to get and should be quite cheap nowadays. So, assuming you've done that, we will now go to the deck builder and put that deck together. In fact, I did that earlier. So growth pre-constructed, first editions. Oh yes, and when I was doing that, I realised that I'd actually ended up with a 51 card deck. Lol, mathematics. So what I did was I took out one of the bear paws, because eventually they're coming out next anyway. And we're kind of thinking as bear paws and champion ring as one card there. We've got 3 of them in total. Champion ring, enchanted unit gets 2 attack, and bear paw gives a unit 2 attack and 2 health, but it does delay its countdown by 1. So those 2 are situational cards. We're not going to use them a great deal, and like I said, they are going to be removed as soon as we can afford to buy a few more cards, namely Fertile Soil, God Hand and Quake. So this deck should be perfectly good enough for you to play some medium AI quick matches, and hopefully move on to the medium trials as well. Although once you get onto the medium trials, you will need to build decks specifically for some of the trials. I think it's been a while since I've played them, but you might struggle on a few of the medium without a bigger collection. But anyway, the main goal was to build this deck so you can be competitive in quick matches against the Medium AI, and then you will earn more money, as well as learning about all the different decks that the AI will play, which is one of the main things you need to do in Scrolls, is learn the decks, learn the threats. So, next thing we will do is play a quick match against the Medium AI with the deck that we've just built. And that'll give me a chance to talk about a few things strategically that I want to mention, because we didn't touch on any strategy before. So what have we got? That's not a bad hand to start off with. The opponent started. He's sacrificed for growth, so he's playing a growth deck similar to ours, and he's played a Ragged Wolf, which has haste, so that's attack straight away. So, what do we need to talk about? I'd take notes as well if I were you. I know it sounds a bit ridiculous, but that's what I did when I first started. Found some good videos, which I will link you to. There's a couple of really good articles and videos that you should probably watch, by players who are a lot better than me. And yeah, you should probably check those guys out. So I'll link you to those afterwards. Right. Oh, I don't think I ever mentioned the attack order and how that works in any previous videos. So, if you've got a board full of units, how do you know which ones are going to attack first? Well, it's simple. It comes down in order from the front top, down, 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 and then from the middle top, down, 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 and then the back row top, down, 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 down. So that's how that works. Quite an important thing, really. What do we want you to think about while playing this game? Your key thought when you're just starting out in Scrolls, for me, is kill creatures before idols. I know it's tempting when the whole idea of the game is to destroy 3 idols to win. It's tempting to just go straight after them. Excuse me. And try and destroy them as quickly as possible. If you do that and completely get tunnel vision on their idols, you'll find out that soon enough the opponent will have a board full of creatures, and you will have no chance at all of winning the game. So it's crucial to try and build up board advantage. That's one of the 3 main thoughts that I want to talk about today. We'll move on to that in a second. But the overriding thought for this game I want you to take away from and learn and apply to your match when you first play is kill creatures before idols. Right, so what do we do here? We've got a handful of stuff. We've got an Ancestral Totem, which is a structure which gives all our creatures +1 attack, which is nice, so we want to keep that if we can. We've got a Ragged Wolf, which combined with Ancestral Totem gives us a hasty 2 attacking creature, so that's a nice surprise attack, so we don't really want to play that until Totem's out. We've got Brother of the Wolf, which is a 4-cost creature. It's a decent enough creature on its own. It's 3 attack, 2 counter, 4 health. But his ability is crucial to this deck because when his countdown is 0, you can summon a Ragged Wolf, which is the guy I've just told you about, instead of attacking. Now, when you've got Great Wolf on board, that becomes really important. As you can see, Great Wolf is a 3 attack, 2 countdown, 5 health, with the Relentless ability. Relentless means, well, you can see there, if opponent blocking unit is destroyed, this creature will continue to attack, so it can take down an entire row if its attack is high enough. Which is where your other wolves come in. Great Wolf gets +1 attack for every other wolf you control. That's the theme of this deck, really. It's just to get as many wolves out as we can, get as many Great Wolves out as we can, and just wreak wolfy mayhem. So, we want to keep Brother if we can, we want to keep Totem, Ragged Wolf, we want to keep Great Wolf, and Virtue of the Wild's really useful early game because it boosts our growth without actually having to sacrifice for it. So the obvious choice to get rid of here is Dryadic Power, which is an enchantment which boosts the creature's attack by 1 and health by 3, but it decreases its move by 1, meaning that once you put the Dryadic Power on a creature, it can no longer move. So what we're going to do is sacrifice that for resources. I'm going to talk more in depth about how and when to sack for growth or other scrolls in a little while when we get onto that. Now, this leads us on to an important point: where to place units. How do you know where to put your guys? Well, if you're first to go, what you want to do is what the AI did. You want to control this middle lane. The reason for that is quite in depth, But a simple way of explaining it is to go back to the key concepts of scrolls. You only need 3 idols alive to not lose the game. To win the game, you need to destroy 3 of your opponent's idols. So, to not lose the game, you need to keep 3 idols alive. Because of this, it makes sense to prioritise 3 idols to protect. And it's obviously easier to protect 3 idols that are next to each other, because then you can bunch up all your units in a nice big group and respond to opponent's threats. So if you've got a row of 3 creatures on the middle, you can respond to any creatures in rows 2, 3 and 4. Whereas if you've got your creatures down on the bottom row here, you can literally only respond to threats in this row and the row above it. The next best situation would be to control 3 at the bottom or 3 at the top, because again you've got units next to each other. But for now, take it as read, the middle idol and the middle row is very important. I'll link you to some articles and videos about that, which go into more depth and explain it more eloquently than I ever could. So check those out in the description. But like I said, the basics are control the middle lane if you can. If you lose your middle idol, you're forced to separate your units, then obviously. You've lost that one, you've now got 4 idols to protect. If you decide to protect these 2 down here, your opponent can focus on the top 2. It just makes sense to always be able to keep your units together and be able to protect each other and the idols. So, from a defensive point of view, that's why it makes sense to control the middle. Offensively, if you can control the middle, like I said, you can attack lanes 2, 3 and 4. And if you've got a unit that can attack every turn, so you've got units with offset countdowns, so say you've got a Ragged Wolf in here with an attack 2, and you've got a Kinfolk Brave in here with an attack with a countdown of 1. Your opponent can't really play anything on these 3 rows without... Well, he can, but he knows that he's going to be attacked the next turn by the Kinfolk Brave, and then he knows he's going to be attacked somewhere else on the next turn by the Ragged Wolf. So that's a key thing to try and remember. Try and have a unit attacking every turn whilst controlling the middle row, and that will force your opponent to play units in rows 1 or 5, depending on which way you want to look at it. 1 at the top, 5 at the bottom. And that gives you 2 options. Then you can either destroy the middle idol and then push up away from whichever side your opponent plays his creatures in, and just run away and try and destroy the other 2 top idols before he gets a chance to counter. Or you can stay in that middle lane and let him come to you and engage his creatures on your own terms as he moves up. And a good example of this is here. The AI has played a Ragged Wolf. It's just attacked. It's now got a countdown of 2, as you can see underneath it. That's a point. I don't think I mentioned that before. You need to press control, otherwise your board will look like that. And you have to hover over the creatures to find out what the countdown is, what the health is, and what health is left on idols. So if you just press control, you'll always know those facts. Should have mentioned that before. But I'm still learning. I'm still new to this YouTube shenanigans, and I'm just bundling through as best I can. So if there's anything I remember that I should have said before, I'll tell you as and when. Right, so yeah, here we go, back to our example. Because he's got a Ragged Wolf in the middle lane, if I play my Virtue of the Wild now, ideally I'd like to get in this middle lane and control it. But if I do, Ragged Wolf will be attacking before my Virtue of the Wild attacks, because he's got a 2 countdown as well. So obviously this guy's going to attack before my guy, and he's going to kill him. He's only got 1 health point. Ragged Wolf's going to come and kill him, unless I put something in front of it, which at the moment I haven't got anything that I can do. I haven't got anything to place in front of him. Like I said, I don't really want to play Ragged Wolf until it can kill something outright as a surprise attack, using Ancestral Totem after turn 4. So until turn 4, I've got nothing to protect this Virtue of the Wild. So what I want to do is play him down in the bottom, And that just illustrates how key getting idols in the middle row early is. It's not such a big deal for me because this guy's not really going to be an attacking force. He can sit down here. He's now boosting my growth up to 2. That gives us an instant advantage in resource count. And he can just sit down here. I can protect him if I can. If I can't, so be it. But that will then force my opponent to chase the Vator of the Wild down to the bottom, thus clearing the middle row. So it's not such a massive deal for me in this position. Let's end the turn and see what the AI does next. Incredibly, he's just sacrificed for cards, I think, and then done nothing. So, really strange decision. But again, this is the medium AI. It's only slightly better than easy. The advantage is you just get more gold for beating him. So, what have we got now? We've just drawn another Vator of the Wild. A goal really is to get this Great Wolf out as soon as possible. So I think the best thing we can do is now sacrifice a Brother of the Wolf. We would like to have him, but we've got another 2 coming eventually, so we'll get him sacrificed for growth and play another Vator of the Wild. As you can see now, we're on 4 growth compared to our opponent's 1, which is a massive, massive advantage. And if you get the chance to get 2 Vators out, you really want to do that. So we'll now end the turn. That gives us a chance to play Great Wolf on our 3rd turn, which is really quite ridiculous. So we've just drawn another Dryadic Power. These are really good in combination with the Vator of the Wild because they are vulnerable to attack, having only 1 health point. You slam a Dryadic Power on it and all of a sudden it's got 4 health points, which is a lot harder to deal with. But for now, we don't need it. We're going to get rid of it. And we're just going to get our wolf out as soon as possible. So a good idea now would be to start advancing up towards the middle. And we'll use our Great Wolf as some protection for the Vators. A lot of unit placement depends on the deck you're playing and the deck you're playing against. For example, against Energy, which has a really good mass removal card in Thunder Surge, you need to separate your units because Thunder Surge deals damage to all connected units. Against growth, all we're really worried about removal wise is Quake, and that just deals 2 damage to all creatures on the board and 3 damage to all structures on the board. So placement doesn't really matter in that regard. I would, however, like to protect my Great Wolf at the back of my row if I could, with something like the Brother of the Wolf, Kinfolk Veterans, etc. But for now, it serves a better purpose protecting these Vators. I don't even know how you say that. Vator of the Wild. Vator. Does it matter? No. Protecting these horny little dudes. Yep. So what we're going to do is use him as a blocker for the time being. And hopefully this game will be over quick enough that it doesn't really matter anyway. So yeah, we've moved him up. We can't move any further. Let's just end the turn. What have we drawn? A champion ring. Right, let me just talk about now about sacrificing cards. This is a good opportunity to do that. First thing, I'll just move everybody up just so we've now got the middle row. We're not so worried about taking 1 damage from the Ragged Wolf because we've got 5 health points to play with. Main thing is controlling that middle row, which now we are. So, sacrificing. The general rule with sacrificing cards is to sack for resources when you can, so sack for growth when you can, and cards when you have to. If you've not got many cards and you can afford to play what you've got, sack for resources. If you have drawn a card you want to play next turn, so say, I can't think of a good example that you'll understand, but if you've drawn a card you want to play next turn, but you need 1 more resource to do it, to play it, sack for cards this turn, and then sack for that resource next turn. That gives you more options this turn and next turn for sacrificing. Um, even if it seems like you've got enough resources, but you've got a good enough card to play this turn and a good enough card to play next turn with the resources you've got, still sack for resources, because it gives you a massive advantage in the long run. Three things that we want to keep in mind when we're playing Scrolls are card advantage, board advantage, and resource advantage. We've talked about board advantage a little bit. You want more creatures attacking more often. It means you're controlling the board and controlling what your opponent can play and where he can play them. Resource advantage just means you've got, like as we have now, we've got 5 resources to our opponent's 1. We can play more things. It gives us a massive advantage, especially in the late game. For now, you can see the advantage coming into play. We can now play this turn an Ancestral Totem, which boosts my Vader's attack up to 2, allowing me to kill this unit. And I can also play a Ragged Wolf in front of it as some protection for it. Whereas my opponent can only really play 1 card at a time now, so we're massively in front already, which is good. So there are 3 things to remember: card advantage, which I'll talk about in a second, board advantage, and resource advantage. So back to sacrificing cards. Now we're on to our last card, Champion Ring. And unless this last card is something that's going to win you the game, or protect a key creature, or remove a key creature of your opponents, you generally always want to sacrifice that last card for more scrolls. It just makes sense. You're going to draw another card next turn. You're going to be able to sack for resources if you need them next turn. For now, sacrifice that, get 2 more cards in hand. Then next turn you have 3 cards. And you can sack one of those for more cards if you want, get yourself up to 4. So, as I said, the general rule of sacrificing is sack for resources when you can, and cards when you have to. We were down to 1 card then, we've got plenty of resources, so that was a good time to sacrifice for cards. End this turn. Kill the Ragged Wolf. We've now got complete board control. We've now got a massive resource advantage. The only thing we're behind in is card advantage. You can see my opponent has 5 cards. We have now got 3. So we're behind in card advantage. And it's not so important against Medium AI, but as you play real people and you progress and you're playing high rank players, well, just real people in general, card advantage is massive. It's the be all and end all, really. It's the most important thing in this game. Just another quick example here. We want to do damage to this middle idol, but it's more important to kill other units first. If we didn't have a Kinfolk Veteran, we'd move all these guys up. So we're still protecting the Veteran of the Wilds with the Great Wolf, but we'd take out this guy, this Grey Hawk. He don't look like he's much of a threat at the minute, but if you allow your opponent to build up board presence, it can only lead to bad things. So, but as it happens, we've got a Kinfolk Veteran. Here's another example. Look, we've got enough resources to play everything that we own here. So we've got a good card to play this turn, a good card to play next turn. Ragged Wolf's pretty useless at this point. So what we'll do here is sack for cards. And we'll do that before we do anything else, just to increase our options for this turn. As it happens, we're still going to do the same thing. We're going to play the Kinfolk Veteran. If you're playing on a new row there, always bang him in the middle, because he can move to any of those 6 squares around it, 6 X's. So that's another little tip. Always play in the middle of your rows. And we will end that turn and go back to talking about card advantage. So having more cards than your opponent means more options, and therefore more threats and solutions. It means you can play the best card at the right time, which is vital. There'll be so many times when you're playing games of Scrolls that you wish you had a certain card at a certain time. Oh god damn! If I just had a rally in here, or if I just had a Ragged Wolf, if I just had that Kinfolk Veteran, and the more cards you have in hand, the less you'll find yourself wishing that, and you will actually have the card that you want. So now, because I've still got 5 resources, I can play most of the things in my hand except this Kinfolk Jarl. Now would normally be a good time to sacrifice one of these rallyings for more growth in an attempt to get up to 7 so we can play the Kinfolk Jarl and other cards that we get. But because we've got such a massive advantage, you kind of get a feel for these things, and I know now that I can basically win this game from here without many more resources, and having 2 rallying in hands is going to be quite important. I'm not really going to need the Ancestral Totem. I might want the Jarl, but I doubt it. It's just going to be overkill, really. The Kinfolk Jarl is a 3/6 creature. He is relentless, which is awesome, just like the Great Wolf. And he also has a new ability, which has just been added to him, called Inspiring, which means when he comes into play, adjacent units have their attack increased by 1 till end of turn. So it's a nice little buff card to give a bit more surprise damage if you need it. And for each creature adjacent to Kinfolk Jarl, which obviously means for each creature next to him, Kinfolk Jarl gains +1 attack. So he is like the wolf in that he gains attack points, and that is dependent on creatures being around him. So you want him in the middle of a bunch, like where the Kinfolk Veteran is there. But like I say, for now, we really don't need him. So I'm just going to sacrifice some more cards for the reason I previously discussed. I want more options, I want more threats, I want more answers to my opponent's threats. So card advantage is that big that if you know what you're doing, a lot of the time you want to sacrifice for cards. If you've got board advantage and resource advantage already, but you're lacking card advantage, it makes sense to try and even that out and grab a few more cards. So I've done that now. From future turns, I'll probably just keep ramping up my resources now. Again, what we want to do is kill units if we can. So what I'm going to do here is play a Mangy Wolf. Mangy Wolf, I do that all the time. Call him Mangy Wolf. Who cares? I'm going to call him Mangy Wolf. So, I'm now going to, just for the sake of neatness, I'm going to bring this dude there. I'll play my Mangy Wolf behind these 2 guys. I'm not particularly bothered now if he plays some kind of 2 Ragged Wolf combo and destroys my Ancestral Totem. You can't play a Kinfolk Veteran yet. That's something to watch out for when you're playing against Growth. The magic 5 resources, which is what you need to play a vet. So, haste-wise, he's only got Ragged Wolves and vets that can kill this. I'm not too bothered, so I'll just protect all those guys there. And we will move this row down, keeping everything protected, to take out his Frostbeard and do some damage to the idol. Just note that if he had other units on board, I wouldn't be so quick to abandon that middle row, but because we're in such a dominating position, it really doesn't matter. So Frostgale can go for more resources. We will win the game, I suppose. Yeah, we'll just play a rallying. Rallying is awesome. It reduces all my units countdown by 2. So now all we need to leave is 1 Veteran there. We'll leave that guy there to the 2 damage. We need 8 damage on this idol, so we'll leave all of them guys there. And we will move the Great Wolf up for a bit of overkill on the middle. And we'll move Avaton down just to get a bit more additional damage, because you do get more gold against in quick matches for doing more damage to idols. So, good game, Medium A.I. That is that. So you can see how this deck can easily compete against Medium A.I. and earn you quite a lot of gold. There we've got 150 gold, so all in all, that's not a bad thing. So yeah, we've talked a lot about some of the strategy you need to employ when you're playing Medium AI. So I suggest now you play more games, play the quick matches against the Medium AI, play them as many other medium trials you can get, grind that gold up, and as soon as you can, you want to be now adding fertile soil, quake, and what's the other one? Godhand to your now competitive growth deck. And that's that for now. We'll leave it at that. I'll come back next time with some more gameplay and some more strategy. I hope you've enjoyed this little series. I hope it's taught you a lot, and I will put you some links into some important articles and further viewing. So thanks a lot for watching, and see you again next time.